Hey guys, how's it going? Today let's do another watch unboxing. This model is the Hamilton Ventura Elvis80. It is an iconic watch model. So for those of you who don't know, Hamilton is now a Swiss company, but they have their roots in America. So they actually started in the 19th century, been around for a very long time, and they're a very iconic American watch company until they got taken over by the Swiss in the 1970s. And this model, the Elvis 80, is the model that was inspired by Elvis Presley, who famously wore the Ventura watch in the film Blue Hawaii. It's a classic film from 1961. So the Ventura also has the distinction of being the very first battery-powered watch. So this was way before any quartz watches ever came out, before the Seiko Astrons, before the Bulova Accutron. Hamilton came out with the very first battery-powered watch, which was the Ventura. So yeah, we're going to take a look. This is a special edition of that model. The original Ventura was a very small watch. I believe the Elvis 80 is a bigger model. And this is also a quartz model as well. So I don't usually buy quartz watches. I usually like mechanical watches better, but let's take a look. All right, so this is a very nice wooden box here. All right, so nice wooden box right here, and we also get the customer service and the international warranty here. So this is brand new. I bought it for $800, and you might be asking, why is that so expensive for a quartz watch? Well, I think the reason is because this is a very special model. So usually if you look at quartz watches, they're usually very cheap, right? So I'm not talking about the low-end Casios and Seikos and Timexes or things like that. Right, those are all really cheap watches. The Ventura is a very iconic special model. That was the very first battery-powered watch. Now it's turned into both a quartz model and a mechanical model. I think the mechanical model is around $200, $300, actually $200, $400 more. I've seen it for as much as $1,200, depending on what strap you want to get it with, or bracelet, or a design. But this one, the quartz model, is still pretty expensive. It's around $800. And that is really expensive for a quartz watch, but you got to consider the history behind this watch, right? So this watch, basically the first one of its kind, and then it kind of kickstarted that battery-powered watch movement that developed into the quartz movement. So even though this watch is a quartz model, originally the first time it came out, I think it was just powered by electricity, by battery, and it was very different than any other watch of its time. Now you have a much more accurate quartz movement, which of course is also powered by batteries. So yeah, we're going to take a look. So let's open it up, and you can see the distinctive design of this watch. This watch is iconic not only because of the history as the first battery-powered watch or electricity-powered watch, but it's also iconic because of the shape, right? So yeah, as you can see, it has a very distinctive triangular shape, and this is part of the reason why I was so interested in it, because I think of Hamilton not as a Swiss brand, even though it is Swiss owned. It is owned by Swatch now, but I still think of it as an American watch company at its roots, right? So you look at a lot of Hamilton's designs, and a lot of them are really inspired by Americana, which I really like. So you can just tell by the distinctive design of this watch, the Elvis 80. This is not the original model that came out in the 50s, by the way. This, like I said, is a tribute to Elvis Presley's kind of style. So he never actually wore this watch. This is a modern design and a take on what I guess he would have wore, or just inspired by him. And the cool thing is, for me, right, if you look at this design, and this watch, don't get me wrong, is pretty much all about the design, right? There's nothing special about the movement because it's not mechanical. It's just a regular quartz movement that's battery powered, just like all other quartz watches. So nothing special going on under the hood here. It really just is the design. That's the main reason you would buy the Ventura, right? Is to turn some heads when you wear this on your wrist. So, I mean, it's just a really, really cool, unique design that I don't think any other watch has. So, but yeah, you can see here that even the straps here are non-traditional. So if you ever want to get a replacement strap for the Hamilton Ventura, you have to custom get it from Hamilton. You have to buy the Hamilton straps. Other straps, aftermarket straps, will not work unless they're specifically made for the Ventura. These are very, very special straps for a very special watch, right? Very unique design. So you can see here on the back, Actually, I should, it says Swiss made. Doesn't really matter. It's a quartz movement. No mechanical movements going on here. You can see Ventura right here. You can see water resistant 5-bar and Swiss made. Although that's kind of a point of contention. Do you really care if a quartz movement is Swiss made or a Japanese made quartz movement? I think some people would actually prefer a Japanese made quartz movement because, you know, Japanese were the ones who actually kickstarted the quartz revolution, and kind of sent the Swiss industry into chaos in the 1970s. Anyways, doesn't matter too much about this movement. It's a run-of-the-mill quartz movement, I guess, which will be very reliable, right? That's the benefit of quartz movements, is that they're very accurate and reliable. The downside being that some people perhaps don't take it as seriously because it's very cheap to make, and they're on a lot of different affordable watches. But it doesn't mean that quartz is cheaper or bad. Not always, right? I mean, we've seen Grand Seiko with their spring drives, which is a hybrid movement. And we've seen more expensive like Swiss quartz movements as well. And we've seen, like I said, Seiko have more of expensive quartz movements. Some of them are quite good. So don't knock quartz watches just because they're quartz, right? There are expensive quartz watches, which I think is might be worth the asking price, especially the higher end Seikos. Like I said, I'm not sure about Swiss quartz personally, but I do think the higher end Seikos with their quartz movements are worth the price of admission. Now you can see the crown here is a very unique crown as well. It says I here, just on the side, and just the design of this watch, right? So obviously I can set the time here. There is no hand winding here, is not mechanical, but yeah, it's typical, easy to use. As you can see with quartz, the movement is not smooth. It doesn't have a sweeping second hand like mechanical watches do. That's kind of the downside of quartz. But some watch makers like Seiko, like I said, have figured that out with the spring drive. So you can actually get a pretty smooth, in my opinion, actually that's probably the smoothest second hand sweep is the Seiko spring drive movement. But most quartz movements are going to have this jerky kind of movement here on the second hand. So yeah, this is a Hamilton Ventura with a black dial. Still very readable. I would say do not get the XXL version because that version, there's another bigger version of this, and that version is even harder to tell the time. I think this one is still fine. This one you can still tell the time pretty easily, even though the hands and markers are on a non-traditional kind of position because the case is so unique. But if you get the XXL version, they're really distorted, and then it becomes kind of harder to tell the time. But this one, you can still do it. Like I said, I really like the color scheme, the design here. This watch speaks to me like it just looks Americana. And this watch did come out in 1950s, the Ventura series. They did come out in the 1950s, 57, I believe. But this really takes you back to 1950s, doesn't it? It's just the color scheme. I mean, look at the black and the red here. In the design here, it takes you back to the atomic age, back in the days of Cadillacs with tail fins, with Elvis, you know, James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, that entire era, right? This watch is, I mean, just, yeah, it just looks like a 50s futuristic, you know, the atomic age watch, right? Space age, atomic age watch. Everyone back then was designing things like cars and TVs, like everything basically, radios, just based on the space age and the atomic age, right? They had a lot of grand visions for the future, and that led to a lot of really cool, unique Americana designs, in my opinion. So that's part of the reason I was so interested in this one, the black and red color scheme. You can see in the dial, right? It kind of looks like a dial from a car, right? You can see like when you rev up the engine, it goes into the red line zone, right? When you rev up the RPMs and stuff, it kind of looks like the dashboard of a car. So that's really cool, right? It just kind of reminds me of, oh, hey, this might have come from a 50s Cadillac, right? Just looks like it. So anyways, yep, this watch, very, very unique for the design. Again, a standard quartz movement, but you got to consider it's expensive because both of the unique design and its heritage, right? The Ventura being the first watch model that had a battery-powered design, right? So the quartz model kind of carrying on that tradition. I know it's quartz, but this is really keeping in line with the heritage of this particular model. There is also an automatic version of this watch, of this model, but that one's like maybe $300, $400 more. And to me, like, just getting quartz just feels right for this watch, because that's what the Ventura was, right? They kind of pioneered the battery-powered movement and the unique design and everything. I think that's the main thing people are going to care about, not whether or not it's automatic or quartz, but just the design, right? When people see this, they're going to look at it and go, what's that? Just a very, very unique design that looks like it came from, like I said, the dashboard of a vintage Cadillac from the 1950s. Like, certainly looks like it. And inspired by Elvis Presley, he never actually wore this model, of course. He wore the original model. But I can see how this would invoke Elvis Presley, because he was known for being kind of ahead of his time, right? Inspiring a revolution. And this watch, when you look at it, is very unique. It looks retro-futuristic. Like, maybe this might appear in a Fallout game, right? Because that game is based on retro-futuristic stuff. Also inspired by the 40s and 50s. So, yeah, the atomic age design in a watch. So that's what the Hamilton Ventura Elvis80 is about. I didn't get the regular Ventura because it's a very vintagey watch. So it's very small. It's like 36 millimeters or something like that, equivalent. Of course, I can't really, it's not a traditional case, but it's like a 36 millimeter equivalent. This watch keeps it up with more of a modern type of size, right? I would say that maybe it's like a 42 millimeter equivalent here. Does wear pretty big, but not ridiculously big like the XXL model will. Also, just want to mention that another reason I got the Elvis80 model is that it has a date indicator right here. So there's a date complication, which the regular Ventura does not have. The regular Ventura only tells the time. That's it. It doesn't have any other complications. And this watch actually comes in a bunch of different stylings. So I got the one with a rubber strap, but there's also a leather strap, and there's also a stainless steel bracelet, and the case as well, right? There's the one with a white dial, this case, steel case, one with a black casing around it as well. So there's all sorts of different combinations. The Ventura is a iconic series for Hamilton, and they have a lot of different variations on it. And that's it, guys. That's the Hamilton Ventura Elvis80. And very, very unique watch. I don't usually buy quartz watches, but this quartz watch is very, very special. And yeah, if I wear it, then I'm sure everyone will ask about it and notice it, because it is definitely probably the most unique watch in my collection in terms of the design. And that's it, guys. Leave me any comments in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.